Today, as I said, is the 23rd, and the topic of September 20. The topic we're going to discuss is the land, the water bill. The water bill act. This is a very disastrous bill. It is a very unacceptable bill. It is a bill that is against the interest of the whole of the South. It is a bill that is against the interest of any community, any ethnic nationality that has water. If you have salt water, if you have drinking water, if you have a stream, if you have a river, if you have mangrove, if you have creeks, if you have swamps, if you have anything to do with water, if you have to go home by canoe, if water is touching your land, your community, God-given water is touching your God-given ancestral land, your community, no matter your ethnic nationality, you are in trouble. This bill is anti-South. It is anti the whole of the South, not just Niger Delta, any creek, swamp, anything to do with water. This bill is against you. This bill reared its head in the 8th Assembly. At that time, the former governor and then the senator, the former governor of Akwa Ibom State, and then the senator representing one of the senatorial districts in Akwa Ibom State, and the minority speaker, the minority leader, who was then Senator Godwill Akpabio, was the one that made sure that it was thrown out. This very bill was thrown out in the 8th Assembly. This bill has come back, they've put it back, he has put it back, whoever is responsible. This bill, pure and simple, is to take away our rights, like every other rights that have been taken away from us, the oil, the gas, the discussion, if you remember, of the onshore-offshore dichotomy during Obasanjo's time. Now, what I want us to achieve today is to be able to understand in very simple layman's understanding. It's not about how many degrees you have. It is not about whether you are educated or not educated. It's not about whether you can recognize A from B. It is simply about you understanding what this bill means to you, against you, and what it means for the people that will benefit from this bill. There are people that are going to benefit from this bill. I will try my best to break it down as simply as I can and simplify it as much as I can. The people that are supposed to delve into the in-depth of it are, one, our governors of the southern region. That means the governors of the southwest, the governors of the southeast, and the governors of the south-south, which is the Niger Delta region. The representatives, all the 3 senators representing the 17 states in the assembly of the southern states, are supposed to be the ones that will speak on our behalf. What we are doing today is to make them to understand that we know what we want and we know what we don't want. And what we don't want, very simply, we don't want this bill to go through the National Assembly. And it is their responsibility to make sure that this bill does not go through. It is their responsibility to work with us and make sure that this bill does not see the light of day anymore in this assembly or any other assembly in the future, if there is such an assembly in the future. Now, the land, we can't really discuss the water bill without actually reminding ourselves that there is an act called the Land Use Act of 1978, which states very clearly that the land in a state is under the authority of the state governor of that state. And therefore, for it to leave the authority and control on behalf of the people, you and I, to the hands of the federal government, that it will need a constitutional review, which has not happened. Therefore, the attempt, because this bill is coming from the president, therefore the attempt from the president to take ownership through this bill to the federal government is not acceptable by law, and we must resist it, we must refuse it. And how we're going to resist it and refuse it, the first stage must be taken up by the senators of the South, by the senators of the Niger Delta, by the senators of the Yoruba people, and by the senators that represent the Igbo people. This bill must be killed on the floor of the National. It is really quite offensive for any member of the ruling or governing system to always make us feel as if we are uneducated in the South and that we don't know what we are doing. When people like the Minister of Information will make a statement and say that the people opposing the water bill have not read the water bill, do not understand the water bill. That's a lie. We understand it, we know it, and what we understand is that it is against the South, and what we know is that it is against the people that live on water and through water and by water. Now, we also, as I have said, we also must remember that there was a time that we had the onshore-offshore dichotomy argument. International law of the waters states that anything up to 200, where the 200 nautical mile stops from any shore of any country, belongs to the country. That means, for instance, people like us in the Niger Delta, in Delta State, in Bayelsa, in Rivers State, in Akwa Ibom State, in Edo State, in all the 6 states, Cross River, without us being in Nigeria, Nigeria as a country cannot lay claim to the 200 nautical miles. I repeat, the 6 states of the Niger Delta, now including Lagos State and any other state like Ondo State in the southwest that have water. If you have a stream, a river, people in Oguta, people in Asaba, people in Onitsha, this bill affects you. Any water, because it is claiming that apart from the federal government wanting to pass a bill that will mean if you want to sink a borehole in your backyard, that you need a license from federal government in Abuja. It affects all of us. The water that we get under the ground, that we sink borehole to get, for the simple fact that the federal government have a ministry of water that is based in Abuja, is not able to provide water for me in Port Harcourt and in Abonima, is not able to provide water for you in Ogoni, is not able to provide water for you in your home, in your community, in your local government, in your ancestral land. Since it is not able to provide water for you, you have provided water for yourself by digging a well, by sinking a borehole. What the federal government is telling you is that if this bill passes, the water you are getting by digging a well, the water you're getting by sinking a borehole belongs to the federal government, not you. And people need to understand this. You don't have to be a politician to understand this. You don't have to be a politician to fight for your rights. But you must be interested in what politicians claim that you have given them authority to do by voting for them. So now, all the senators, even if you're my twin brother, if you're a senator and you are representing me, you are responsible to me on this matter. Any senator, any House of Rep member, any state assembly member, any local government chairman, and the governor that is not going to be able to fight and resist this thing with the people, I want to tell you now that you have failed. I want to tell you now that we will, the people, declare you as such, as having failed. We need to work together to resist this bill. I am calling on everybody, I don't care your political party, and everything that has happened so far has demonstrated over and over again that it's not about political party. It is about unity. It is about working together. Last Saturday, that was very clearly demonstrated that Edo people on their own could not have won this battle that was waged against them. This battle of the election in Edo was not against Edo people alone. It was against you and I. And by the grace of God, it was recognized by everybody on a particular platform that came together to make sure that the will of the Edo people stood. Edo people did the right thing. It didn't matter who told them not to vote for whom they wanted to vote for. It didn't matter how many broadcasts were made. Edo people stood for Edo people. But I want to tell Edo people that they not only stood for Edo people, they stood for everybody, particularly in the Niger Delta, in Rivers State, in Bayelsa State, in Delta State, in Edo State, in Akwa Ibom State, in Cross River State. They stood for all of us, and we also stood with them. It is very clear that without what happened, without the position that the party took, and without choosing the people that they chose to represent the party in Edo State, starting with the position of Governor Wike of Rivers State and his co-governors on his political party, that this thing would have gone the wrong way, because it was very clear that there was no way they were going to win that election. It was clear who was going to win the election. So we need to work together. I'm raising this as a point of contact, as a point where it is very clear what working together and unity will bring. Unity will bring success. Unity will bring us to achieve what we want to achieve. Now, this issue of the water bill. Water is a very critical thing in all our lives. Like the way blood is critical for us to be alive. The way air is critical for us to be alive. The way water is critical for us to be alive. We didn't create ourselves. No human being can create a human being. The superior being, God Almighty himself, is the one that created us. In his creation, he has given us flesh, which is dust. He has given us water. Well, more than 90% of our body is made up of water. God is not a fool. We have blood in our body. Now, if that be the case, anybody that wants to control water is attempting to control our very lives, because water is very critical in our lives. So the federal government, in its attempt not only to claim the land, not only to regulate, in its claim, regulate water, which it did not create. The federal government can say it is building bridges, it is building roads. The federal government cannot claim to be making water for us. The water belongs to us. Water is free. God gave it to us free. Salt water and fresh water. Now, if the federal government, as it is claiming, attempting to claim that it wants to pass a bill that the water belongs to the government, it has also gone further, and we must object to this, to claim that up to 6 kilometers of any community that has water, that has land and water at a point where land meets water in any community, the government is saying that it claims that land 6 kilometers into that community. I come from Abonima, and horizontally or otherwise, my community is not even up to 6 kilometers. What will happen is what was done, unfortunately, to the people of Finima is what will be done to any community that the federal government chooses, for any reason that the federal government chooses. So the federal government can come to, I won't mention my community, the federal government can go to their enemy's community and say, this land belongs to federal government, we're relocating you. You have 1 hour to leave this community and we will take you to somewhere else, because this community, this land of this community belongs to the federal government. Now, people might hear this and say, Annkio, don't come. Well, ask Finima people whether Annkio don't come. They will tell you, because that was exactly what happened to Finima people. Because of interest of oil and gas, all excuses were used They polluted their water, they polluted their land recklessly. And then today, Finima people are relocated. The water they drink, you need to go to Finima to be able to understand the injustice that Finima people have faced and are still facing. So it is critically important. It's a matter of life and death. It is a matter of justice and injustice for us to know that it is not whether you are in a PDP or you are in APC. If you refuse to understand what I'm saying because of party interests, it will affect you the same way it will affect everybody else, whether you like it or you don't like it. This bill is unacceptable. This bill is a bill that will provide what the government have always intended, to put anybody anywhere that they choose to put them, to remove people from a particular area and take them to another area. This bill does not affect any other people but the people of the South. Now, I want to bring in another line of thought. Dry dock is being built in Kaduna. You ask yourself, why are you building dry dock in Kaduna? We have Apapa Port, we have Port Harcourt, we have in Calabar. In Port Harcourt, we have two. We have in Calabar, we have in Warri, Asaba and Onitsha are very open. They are in the River Niger. When you look at all of these things, you ask yourself, why do you want dry dock in Kaduna? Let me share my analysis with you. The dry dock that is being built in Kaduna, if you watch, it is also going hand in hand with the railway that is being built between Lagos and into the north. And we're being told that we should be grateful that there is another railway that is coming into the Niger Delta and then going into Maiduguri. Now, if you look at these things, you will think it is developmental, infrastructural. It looks like that on the surface. But in reality, let me tell you what is happening. It is taken away from Lagos. When goods land in Lagos, it will be put on the railway that is being built between Lagos and Kaduna. The goods will no longer be cleared in Lagos. The goods will leave Lagos after it has arrived by sea. It will not be cleared. It will go straight to Kaduna dry dock. And the people who are bringing in their goods now through Lagos, that take it to Onitsha, take it to Aba, and take it to the southeast, because they are mainly the people that import, and even clear it in Lagos, they will no longer be able to. They will take it to Kaduna, clear it in Kaduna. When you clear it in Kaduna, what happens? The tax is paid to Kaduna State and then transported to its final destination. So you can understand now why the dry dock is being built in Kaduna, and at the same time, a railway line is also being built that will go to Kaduna. The rest is up to you to analyze. Now, I am making this analysis based on the fact that the government, the federal government, through the Ministry of Transportation, is building these railway lines. And the dry dock is being built in Kaduna State. And so every other thing begins to fall into place. And I continue to ask myself that if I, someone who is not a politician, but by the grace of God, have been given understanding to understand and appreciate and use my brain and think for myself and make decisions for myself, can analyze these things. Why is it that the politicians that are representing us are not able to analyze this and act on it on our behalf? These are the things that you and I have to ask our politicians. And the idea that we have to be faithful to a political party in our communities and where we come from is part of our problem. We don't have to be, we don't have to give our all to a political party. A political party has to give its all to us. But we have gotten it wrong and we're doing it the wrong way around. This bill was brought into the 8th Assembly. And as I said, Akpabio played a role when he was on the other side of the floor to make sure that this bill didn't see the light of day. Now he's on the other side of the party. I want to actually see how his reaction will be, because this bill will also affect him negatively. Now, for the people in the National Assembly that this bill affects positively, that are saying that the bill should not go through public hearing, because in the 8th Assembly, it has gone through public hearing. They are saying this on the assumption that they've always had, that our lawmakers, our representatives are weak, are unable to speak up for us. If not, this bill is not coming in the 8th Assembly. It is coming in the 9th Assembly. The 8th Assembly does not exist anymore. And so you cannot say that because it has gone through public hearing in the 8th Assembly, that when you bring it up as a fresh bill in the 9th Assembly, that you should not take it through public hearing. This bill, the Niger Delta Self-Determination Movement, is cautioning all the ethnic nationalities of the Niger Delta region or the South-South, whichever one you prefer, but all the 6 states that is in the Niger Delta Self-Determination Movement must rise up and say no to this bill, because this bill is a destructive bill. It is a bill that is being proposed to completely strip us naked as a region and as peoples of ethnic nationalities. We will have no rights to land and to life sustenance, because even the very water, even people who live on water, if you go to places like some areas in Delta, in Ondo states, and even in Bayelsa, there are Ijaw people, even in River State, there are Ijaw people that live on water. People come from Nembe to bring snail and foodstuff to Port Harcourt through Nembe waterside. The federal government is telling you that this route belongs to them. Don't forget that we're talking about land route that already Mieti Allah is claiming that because those routes existed during the colonial days and after independence, when they were going from still the way they do, roaming around from one place to the other, that they had special routes made, cut out for them, where cattle will pass. It may have been so, but that cannot mean that that road belongs to them, which is what they are claiming today in 2020. That's what they are claiming. That because those routes existed in 1950 something, in 1940 something, when there were no roads even, when there were no motorways, when they walked to bring cattle down south, because the government cut out a route for them to use, they are claiming that it belongs to them. This is what this bill is doing. They are fighting for the rights for the land in the southwest, in the southeast, and in the south-south. They have now turned it, the government is now wanting to claim water for them. If we will not wake up to smell the coffee, it does not mean that the coffee is not on the fire. It just means that we're confirming to the people who want to destroy us that truly we are ignorant, because only an ignorant person will accept this bill. Only an ignorant person will not want to know more of the implications of this water bill. It is a pity that we have lawmakers representing us, that the bills will come on the floor, it will be read, and then it will have first hearing, second hearing, and third hearing, and all kinds of hearing. And yet we have our people sitting there. The fact that people belong to a political party should not mean that our people in politics should completely sell us out. A lot of illegalities is going on, and our people are continuously afraid and are refusing to speak up against these illegalities. While I agree and understand that governors and senators cannot come out openly and make certain demands or statements, it does not mean that the people, you and I, may not have those desires. And therefore, if we do have those desires, then it is our responsibility for us to make those desires known to the world, to ourselves, and to our representatives. Now, people have read statements made by people in government saying that the people who are opposing the bill don't understand the bill, have not read about the bill. Please believe me when I tell you that I understand the bill, and I don't need to convince you. All I need is to convince myself that this bill poses a danger. As I said, I come from a community, Abonima, that is surrounded by water. The edge of the water in Ousara, which is the beginning of Abonima and which is Manuel compound, and it moves into Georgeville, and to the left and to the right of Abonima, horizontally, every compound has an edge in Abonima that water touches. In Briggs compound, in Jack's compound, in Briggs compound where I come from, there is a place called Adapoku. My ancestral grandfather, great-great-great-great-grandfather, Opuda, all those places, water is touching those lands. There is a place in the swamps, in the mangroves, called Ebelikiri. It's my grandfather's land. He claimed it. He opened it up. Everybody in Abonima knows it. Now, in all the families, in all the compounds, Douglas, Don Pedro, everywhere in Abonima, each family has a piece of land that touches water. So basically, when you go to Abonima, the Anabrabra family, they are touching water. Best Man, they are touching water. The Mission, Obonoma, all of these people are touching water. Obonoma is the next community going inwards to the burial ground area, to the Mission area where my primary school I attended is situated, and the church in Bob Manuel's compound is situated. All of these things, I grew up there. You cannot come and tell me that from my birth to in this my age, I will wake up one morning and Abonima will now belong to federal government. So I'm calling on politicians, the local government chairman, I'm calling on the chiefs, the council of chiefs in Abonima, all the chiefs, people who have acquired chieftaincy title, people who have created chieftaincy title, people who have inherited chieftaincy title, people who have bought chieftaincy title. I'm calling all of you. This is the time to claim your chieftaincy title because it is attached to Abonima. You must rise up. The council of chiefs in Abonima, all the chiefs, high chiefs, low chiefs, this is the time to prove how high your chieftaincy stool is. They walk in new houses. This is the time to show what you inherited. Women in Kalabari Kingdom, women in our culture are not given chieftaincy title. So men are the ones that are given chieftaincy title. Therefore, this is the time to protect your chieftaincy title. Today, the issue between a lot of communities in Kalabari Kingdom has a lot to do with what happened at a particular time where people in Bakana, even Abonima, Tombia, were relocated during the war by force out of their communities and taken to Port Harcourt and other places. Those are some of the issues that are still on ground. We are threatened by that same act right now in 2020 by this government. Let nobody say that I am exaggerating. I lived through the war. I saw what happened during the war. I was born before independence. I knew what independence, pre-independence, Nigeria and Kalabari and Abonima and Rivers, today Rivers State was like. I saw it, I lived in it. Nobody is educating me, I knew it. So it is very, very important that the people who are in my age group that are alive today recall the dangers that they faced then in the 60s during the war. It is coming, this is coming back. This is war, where somebody will relocate you by force. It is war. So it is not political party affiliation, political party anything, or leader of a political party. I don't care what political party you are leading. You are not leading me in my life and in Abonima. I come from Abonima. I was raised in my grandfather's house, in my great-grandfather's house, in Onubio, in Abel's Gate, in Briggs compound. Nobody is going to come and take that away from me in the name of Nigeria, in the name of federal government. If you let it happen, well, you will not say that you don't know, because you have had experiences in the past. The same thing is coming right now. So this water bill, water is a source of life. It's known all over the world. The EU, the United Nations, all over the world, people are looking for clean water, source of water. I understand that. I do understand that there are people in certain parts of Nigeria that need water. It is not us that took water from you. It is not riverine people. It is not River State. It is not Southerners that took water from you. That's where God placed you. There is no water in where you are. I understand. I appreciate. I'm not saying you should be denied water, but I'm also not accepting that you will come and take my water, deny me water, because you are looking for water. No. There has to be justice and equity. The EU, the UN, most of the projects, and most of them are related to healthcare and water and education and rights and rural development. Most of these projects that come to Nigeria from the EU and the UN are carried out in the north. What is done in the south is very small. Even US aid, even the British aid, all of those things, even the ones that Germany does, most of them are carried out in the north, not in the south. And even the call by the UN that states in Nigeria should take in displaced persons. I'm not saying that I'm not sympathetic. I'm sympathetic to displaced persons because they are mainly Christians that are being displaced. But to encourage states to take them in is actually joining the bandits, as they call them, joining Boko Haram, joining the jihad movement, to say that those people should leave their ancestral home and be relocated somewhere else. Because if you're encouraging, say, Cross River, which they have already started, to take in internally displaced persons, mind you, Cross River also has internally displaced persons from the Bakassi issue. When you say a state should take internally displaced persons, it is part of this land grabbing and displacing of people, because you create a situation where people in southern Kaduna leave their ancestral home and run away and maybe end up in Cross River, in any other state, and as they are claiming that they will assist those states, they will not assist those states. It will just be a one-time thing. And you will now bring people of a different culture, you will displace them from their own ethnic nationality, and you bring them out and put them in other places and they don't go back, you have put a burden on other people, and by so doing, you have brought people to come and share and take over another people's ancestral home by displacing other people. That is already being encouraged. Our governors must resist it. It's not humanitarian. This is not about humanitarian. It's not. Displacing people and relocating them from where they are not used to. Example, Southern Kaduna people are farmers. They're used to farming. They feed a large portion of Nigeria. They have their own culture, their own way of doing things. You now displace them and you say they're being displaced by bandits. You are doing nothing to take them back to their ancestral homeland. Instead, you are removing them from their ancestral homeland and taking them to other people's ancestral homeland. And that's their ancestral homeland. You are now allowing other people that are not even Nigerians, for crying out loud, to come and take over their ancestral homeland. So what is happening is a planned strategy, and it must be rejected. I speak as an indigene of Rivers State. I speak as a daughter of Kalabari Kingdom, of Abonima community, of Ijaw ethnic nationality. I speak as a Southerner. I speak in this manner because as long as Nigeria remains a country, we have Southern and Northern Nigeria. As long as Nigeria remains the way it is, I am from the Niger Delta. As long as we accept that it is more important, and I remove myself from this we now because I don't accept it, the survival of Nigeria cannot be the sole responsibility of a particular religion or a particular ethnic nationality. We are equal in this country, and if we're not equal in this country, let us begin to discuss how everybody will be equal on his own, to himself or to herself. It is very important, as I begin to round up, that we know that we have to get in touch with our representatives, our senators, our House of Rep members, State Assembly members, local government chairmen, our governors, and tell them that this bill is not acceptable. This bill is not acceptable. It is important we know that at the end of the day, if we are who we are, we will remain who we are. It is important that we understand Ogoni people, Ikwere ethnic nationality, Tiv ethnic nationality, we were who we were. Benin people, Yoruba people, Idoma people, we were who we were before the British and the Portuguese came to colonize what is today Nigeria. The British did not create Ijaw people, God did. The British did not create Ikwere people or Ogoni people, God did. The British brought people together and gave them a name. That name is Nigeria. The British drew a map as far as they wanted to draw it and called it Southern Protectorate and called it Northern Protectorate. And in 1914, they brought it together and called it Nigeria. They didn't create Ndi Igbo. They didn't put Ndi Igbo where they are today. They didn't put Enugu people where they are. They came And they came and saw our people there. They met people there. They didn't bring them. They met them. So there is nothing like finding. They didn't find us. We were not lost. Ijaw people were not lost. We moved from place to place. Our forefathers moved from one place to another. The history is there. And the British government themselves have documented our historical facts. Every ethnic nationality historical facts is documented as they met them. As they met them. So you cannot say that Mungo Park came and found. We were not lost. So Mungo Park cannot find anybody. We are who we are. And this water bill is the beginning of what must be. And what is that thing? We must stand up and claim who we are. Who are you? Who are you? You cannot say, you cannot really honestly tell yourself that you are proud that you are a Nigerian when it is this very Nigeria that wants to make sure that you are not in existence, that you're not recognized as a Nigerian. I am a Kalabari daughter from Abonima. I speak Kalabari fluently. That is who I am. I understand my culture. I know my culture. Nobody is going to take it away from me. Nobody else's culture is going to impose on my own culture. Nobody else's culture or religion. I have chosen to be a Christian. Nobody can impose any other religion on me. I'm a Christian. I want to be a Christian. I must remain a Christian. You cannot force me. I am from Abonima. You will not move me from Abonima. That is who I am. That is where I am from. Anybody who does not understand what is in the front and refuses to see it and wants to relate it only to politics, I want to once again remind us that what happened in Edo on Saturday is the beginning of wisdom in the Niger Delta. Well, Edo State have different ethnic nationalities in Edo, but when it came right down to it, all the nationalities came together and defended Edo State because that's their state. They don't have any other state. There are Ijaw people in Edo State, and there are Ijaw people in Bayelsa State. But the Edo people in Edo State are people of Edo State. The Ijaws in Edo State are Ijaws of Edo State. So if they don't join other ethnic nationalities to defend Edo State, we would have a different story today. But what happened in Edo State showed us clearly that it is a myth. It is a myth. It's not true to say that Niger Delta people cannot unite. It's not true. We can unite. And I've said it before, that we speak different languages in the Niger Delta, that we have different culture in the Niger Delta that is intertwined, does not mean that we cannot be one people. We are one people in the region. We are individual ethnic nationalities in the region. We own the region. We must work together to protect the region. Governor Wike of Rivers State went to Edo State as the chairman of his party for the election on behalf of his party in Edo State. And he went there to do a legal job for his political party. But he also went there as a true Ikwere son in the Niger Delta, as a true Rivers son in the Niger Delta, to go is right was done in Edo State. That's unity. That is selflessness. He could have said, it's not my state, it's not my business. But the process of unity of our people have started, and we must encourage it as a people, and we must work with it as a people. This water bill, the Niger Delta Self-Determination Movement totally rejects the water bill. There is no way we will accept that any piece of land in the Niger Delta, in the South-South geopolitical zone, or whatever it may be called in the future, will be a property of the federal government. We should not accept it. Our very lives is at stake. Our very survival is at stake. The future of our grandchildren today is at stake. If we do not say no today, we may not be able to say no tomorrow. On that note, I thank you very much for tuning in. I have no doubt that the way things are progressing, the way things are going, that we may have to increase our weekly broadcasts, but you will get to find out in the future. On that note, God bless you. Have a wonderful week, and stay safe. Wear your mask, and try as much as possible to be careful with COVID-19. God has protected us here. We should not take anything for granted. On that note, have a wonderful day. Thank you very much. God bless you.